All right. Happy Sunday evening. We are here. We're back to daylight saving time. So, yay for that. And I would love for you guys to comment. We already got a comment from Mad Chick Acres saying daylight saving time should be abolished and let humans get back to natural time. It is such a battle. Every single year, we end up having this argument over should we turn the clocks back or forward, or how should we do it? How does it affect us as human beings? How does it affect our sleep, our energy, and our ability to focus and just be in the world? Hey, Chairman, how are you? Nice to see you in here, my friend. And if you guys jump in here, go ahead and make sure you hit that thumbs up button for me, give it a like, and please share this out. This is going to be a fun one tonight because, again, this is it's an argument we have every 6 months, and actually March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So yeah, I think it's 8 months now. We get daylight saving time, and then we're in standard time now. So it's really interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this, where it came from, why it's here, and there's some common misconceptions. Hey, Rick, how are you? Nice to see you. Kenny, I know, right? No, it's like I was going to say, if you guys could drop in the comments, who likes this time change nonsense? It really affects us. It affects us mentally. It affects our sleep. It affects our energy, which affects our ability to think clearly and, again, just relate in the world. Anytime we're affecting our sleep, we're affecting our mental health, we actually create more of an inflammatory situation in our bodies. And unfortunately, when that happens, we lend ourselves to more disease or dis-ease. And of course, that leads into seasonal affective disorder. We're going to get into a little bit of that tonight as well. At the end of all of this, though, I'm going to address some common foods that you can use to give yourself a little bit more brain power so that you can counteract some of these things. And we'll talk about a little bit of supplementation and what kinds of supplements you should be looking at as we go into this. So, not thinking clearly. Kenny's not thinking clearly as he watches in right now. Yes. Go back and watch some of the other videos that you were thinking clearly on, or did that rattle your brain too, Kenny? Yeah, it's really interesting. It's almost like the powers that be want us sick and weak. Mad Chick Acres, are you wearing a tinfoil hat? Hold on, let me get mine. There's a lot of money to be made in keeping people sick and weak. And it's because I don't understand just don't understand why they've kept it. And there really is no good explanation as to why they've kept it. And yes, I think I do, Kenny. But the government will make a lot of money on us if we are sick and weak. They're doing that in so many ways. And of course, I did 2 or 3 of the latest Sunday Night Lives. I talked about Kellogg's and all the additives that they're putting in our food and how they actually promised to take things out and never did. And then they're still putting all this junk in their cereals and people are still buying it. And then they're just creating more of the same with more crap in it. So, yeah, Ben Franklin first threw the idea out there. It actually dates back to, let me go to my notes here. It dates back to 1908. So I'm not sure, I'd have to look up the whole Ben Franklin thing, but yeah, so let's just see who else is coming in here. Thank you so much, Howie. I appreciate you sharing it. Nice to see you in here, my friend. Howie's probably got some good insight on daylight saving time as well, again, standard time. I call it daylight saving time because they make us change, even though, just to clarify, I do realize we are back on standard time. And yes, the Nazis actually did implement it. You're getting ahead of me, Kenny, but that's okay. Keep the comments coming. So what I want to know is, how does it affect you physically, mentally, emotionally? How's your energy? How is your sleep? give me a little bit of insight. Drop a comment in there of how do you feel? I mean, today, maybe not a big deal, but because today was Sunday, everybody got to sleep a little bit. Did you wake up early? Did you end up sleeping later? I actually did not sleep well last night, and I woke up about 3:30, and I looked out my window, and I thought for a minute, I was like, gosh, it's got to be at least 7 o'clock in the morning because it was kind of light out. And I looked at the clock, and it was 3:30. So I don't know why it was so light out. I don't know if there was a full moon. I don't know what's happening with my camera, but something was happening. It was really light. I almost got up and put an eye mask on because it took me a little while to fall back asleep. A lot of racing thoughts. Again, when you wake up in the middle of the night, your mind can tend to go a little cuckoo. Chairman says, I woke up at 2 a.m. after going to bed at 11 o'clock last night with a sinus headache and congestion. So I didn't really get a good night's sleep. And yeah, when you've got congestion, that's a recipe for not sleeping well at all. Got up at the same time, didn't even realize it was DST day for about an hour till I looked at the time on my PC, realized it was different than my bedroom clock. Yeah. I went to yoga this morning, so I was really hoping that I didn't miscalculate and end up getting there early. Magic Acres says, today I'm a mess, woke early, wasn't feeling well anyway, just spent the day cooking and canning. What did you can? Let us know. I woke up, I had a headache. And again, it's like, I didn't have to wake up for anything, but I had a headache. It just felt kind of groggy. I went to bed. It was about 9:45 last night. So I got plenty of hours of sleep, but I used this Aura sleep ring, and it told me I had like an 82 on my sleep score, and I usually like to be up in the 90s. So Howie said, fall back and spring forward is what we learned years ago. All the same work, chores, school. Yeah. No time to really understand. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. You get done what you need to get done anyway. I don't understand. And just as far as canning goes, I canned some green tomatoes last week and they turned out awful. That was the first time I tried. I used a vinegar recipe, which I wasn't crazy about, followed it to the T, and it ruined all my green tomatoes. I had about 10 jars. So I have a little bit more in the refrigerator, and I'm actually going to try a salt brine. I got some canning weights and some special burp tops. They just came today. So I'm super excited to do that. So Mad Chick, have you ever done any, or has anybody ever done any salt brine canning, like old school? Howie says, it's because you weren't drinking enough wine whilst canning. Probably, right? I know. I should have poured that extra glass, but then that would affect my sleep. So 40 pounds of frozen San Marzano tomatoes, currently reduced to 2.5 gallons, still a little to go for thickness. Oh, that sounds yummy. Wow. So 40, God, you must have a big freezer to keep those in. That's great. Okay, awesome. So yeah, just make sure you hit that thumbs up button, share this out, please. And I'm going to go let's talk about the history. So what I pulled up here was that in 1908, Port Arthur, Ontario, Canada became the first city to implement DST, and it all dates back to the war. So then it went to another city in Ontario, introduced by William Sword Frost while mayor from 1911 to 1912. The first states to adopt daylight saving time nationally were those of the German Empire and its World War I ally, Austria-Hungary, commencing on 30 April 1916. I wish Wikipedia would just write normal. As a way to conserve coal during wartime. Britain and most of its allies and many European neutrals soon followed. Russia and a few other countries waited until the next year, and the United States adopted it in 1918. And then most jurisdictions abandoned it in the years after the war ended in 1918, with exceptions including Canada, the UK, France, Ireland, and the United States. And then it became common again in World War II. Some countries adopted double summertime. I don't even know what that would look like. And was standardized in the US by federal law in 1966 and widely adopted in Europe from the 70s as a result of the 1970s energy crisis. Do you guys remember the energy crisis in the 70s? That was kind of crazy. I remember that very well. I was a little girl. And I just remember I just remember hearing it because my mom listened to the news all the time. So I remember hearing about the energy crisis. I remember her complaining about the price of gas all the time. And then I think they also had like, you could only fill your gas tank on certain days or something. It was like the the oil crisis. So I don't know. I have to go back and read more history on that. And yes, Kenny, I will snap my fingers. I did a video where I snapped my fingers and a glass of wine appeared. That was really fun to make. So I'm learning new strategies and tips and tricks on my video editing. So yes, the Aura Ring is, I think that's the least expensive one, is the $300 one. So and I love it. I do love how it tracks things. Sometimes I think it's wrong, and then sometimes I get mad at it because I'm like, why would it? I thought slept really well. But it is nice. It does help keep me on, just gives me insights on things that I've done, how things that I don't think affect my health might be affecting my health. Wow, Mad Chick says 900 plus pounds from 60 plants, not growing tomatoes again for 2 years. That is amazing. Yeah, that's what I thought, Kenny. You could only buy gas on certain days. Yep, even odd by license plates for fuel. Like I said, it was 70s. I was born in 66, so I'm having a slight recall. Yeah. So, and not everybody can afford a $300 ring to help them sleep. But if you can, I'm going to give you some things today that we can work on that are going to help us get through the next 6 months until we get back to our daylight saving time and summer. Yeah. So odds and evens. So one of the biggest things with this 1 hour time change is, and I'm going to start by telling you a story. I have a patient, and I've been seeing her baby since the baby was born. I've been taking care of her through her pregnancy. So she brought the baby in. This was one of her appointments before we moved the clocks back in the spring. And she said, yes, Kindred Spirits, 1966. It was a great year. So she brought the baby in and she said, oh my gosh. And actually, no, it was right after we changed the time. And she said, oh my God, the baby, this 1 hour time change, she could tell just by the way the baby was and wasn't sleeping, more fussy than it had been, wasn't nursing the way it should have been. Like, it affected everything about this baby. It was crying more. And now coming into this time, she came in last week and she said, oh, I've been trying to get her to bed a few minutes early every night just to offset what happened in the spring. And I kind of chuckled a little bit, and she goes, what, shouldn't I do that? And I said, no. I said, do your best. And I said, that's all you can do is do your best. And I said, it's so easy. You're going to hear this a lot. I've talked about this in the past over the however many years I've been doing this show now, where one of the biggest pieces of advice that you get when it comes to adapting to the time change is, oh, you just go to bed 15 minutes early every night and do that for a week and you're all good. You guys, has that ever worked for anyone? Has anyone actually ever done it? What I do think is that we just naturally, our bodies will start to adapt, because hormonally, you can't fight when you don't have enough melatonin to make you sleepy. You can't fight when you have too much cortisol to keep you awake. And so if you're just trying to go to bed 15 minutes early, there's a whole slew of things that needs to happen. You got to turn the lights out. You've got to get off screens. You have to, really get your mind in a place where you start to prep for sleep. And most of the time, people who've told me that they've attempted to try to do that, get to bed 15 minutes early thing, is they end up tossing and turning until they would have normally gone to bed. So that to me is I feel like this whole time change thing is one of those things that it's going to happen. And unless they change it, then we just have to try to wait for it to happen. You can attempt, I don't know. Um, it's like you say, it's never worked for me, but we tend to want to stay up later in the summer because it's lighter longer, so cortisol levels are higher, melatonin doesn't come up. Cortisol keeps us awake, melatonin helps us sleep, and they go like this. It's a seesaw. So same thing, like in the morning when the sun starts to rise, this is why it's so hard to get up with an alarm if it's still dark, is that your cortisol or your melatonin is still high, like you still want to be in sleep mode. And your cortisol, if you are allowed to wake up with the sunrise, like we historically, this is historically how humans are, then what'll happen is when the brain senses the light, cortisol starts to go away, or melatonin starts to go away, and cortisol starts to come up to wake you up. So that's why it becomes so difficult. If you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and you have to wake up out of a sound sleep and your melatonin is still high, and then you get up and you're groggy and it takes a little while for you to wake up, and you're, 2, 3, 4 cups of coffee. It's really, really hard on your body because you're not tapping into your circadian rhythm. And, I understand work schedules. This is just how it is for some humans. Kenny worked midnights forever. So, Kenny felt the wrath of that. I'm sure his body adapted over time, but it still is very hard on the human body. So you guys, okay. So Rick, they started daylight saving time in October because they're in, I always forget, New Zealand or Australia. I'm sorry, my friend. I think you're in Australia. So yeah, other side of the globe. So they flip flop. That makes sense. Magic Acre says, my dad owned 2 gas stations until 74. Price went from 25 cents a gallon to 75. Yeah, I remember that. I remember 55. I don't know. I remember my mom complaining about the gas being 55 cents a gallon. And we were on food stamps and broke and poor. And she had a beat up green Pontiac. Crazy. So anyway, yes, I know. Wish it still was, right? Yeah, be nice at 75 cents a gallon. Kenny says, I've never heard that 15 minutes early night thing before. Yeah, that's like I said, that's something that healthcare professionals or, dare I say, influencers have been talking about for years when it comes to adapting to the time change. Is just go to bed a few minutes early. It's just that easy. I don't think it's that easy. You have to do things that are going to help manage your hormones, and taking melatonin at night is not the answer. You have to get your body to naturally regulate. Now, some people might need melatonin. There are times when you should take it. There are times when you shouldn't take it. If you do, never give it to children. And if you do take it, then like I have a time released melatonin that I prescribe to my clients. That's on my online store, and I can drop that link in here for you guys. But the nice thing about the time released melatonin is because oftentimes, if people have trouble falling asleep, then melatonin may help with that. But then if you can't stay asleep and you have that 2 to 3 a.m. wake up and your brain is just rattling with thoughts, the time released, it releases again several hours later. And so it helps to keep you asleep if you come out of your sleep cycle in the middle of the night. So, so Chairman says, I even take a sleeping pill to fall asleep, and a melatonin chew, 5 milligrams. It still takes me over an hour to fall asleep. Yeah, I mean, that's where it's like looking into things like meditation, journaling, really quieting the brain, not looking at screens, deep breathing, Epsom salt baths, anything you can do to calm your body before you go to bed. You can listen to guided meditations. Those can really help. So Kenny says, didn't really ever adapt the way I hoped it would. It was hard. Yeah, I'm sure with working midnights, not easy on the human body. Magic Acre says, just eat a big turkey dinner at 7, you'll pass out by 9. Got to get that tryptophan in there. That's for sure. That is so true. That's funny. Yeah, that's great. So let me go back to, let me see, where is more of that history. Um, so then we get into, I don't remember where I left off on that other page, but so in 1942, the United States reintroduced it during World War II, and they called it wartime. And then in 66, the Uniform Time Act establishes the current system of DST in the United States, with clocks moving forward in March and back in November. And then in 1974, the United States tries to implement year-round DST to save energy during the oil embargo, but the plan is abandoned after a few months. Did I say that already? Do you guys remember that? That I don't remember them trying to implement it year round. So that was interesting. And then in 2007, the start and end of the DST shifts to its current time frame, with it beginning on the second Sunday of March and ending on the first Sunday in November. So yeah, so I do remember they expanded it, right? They started it early and they ended it later. I remember that happening too. So then it says the purpose of it has changed over time, and it's a common myth that farmers were the primary beneficiaries. I always laughed at that because I'm like, if you guys know any farmers, they're just going to get their work done anyway, and they're up early, and they're not going to be like, oh, hoo-hoo, we needed that extra hour to get our work done. Like, if there's 8 hours of daylight, they're going to work within the 8 hours of daylight and get what they need to get done. So yeah, and then if they have lights on a tractor, they're just going to keep going there too. So um let's see. Chairman says turkey is actually one of the lowest amounts of tryptophan of any food. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why it gets so billed as the most. Yeah, I don't remember year-round thing either. I like I say, I was probably about 8 years old. Yeah, and wish they'd get rid of it altogether. So then the argument would be, if they got rid of it, which one would we stay on standard time, or would we stay on daylight saving time? Howie says sockeye salmon makes me sleepy, or turkey. Oh, that's interesting. Never get sleepy with sockeye salmon. I'm not crazy about turkey, actually. I have an old clock radio that has DST built in. It screws me twice a year. That's funny. So let me go back over here. So they said, okay, farmers, that was one of them. But yeah, it was mostly because of the wars, because of the energy, and that they would have more daylight to basically fight the wars. And when we talk about history of time zones, while state governments cannot independently change time zones or length of DST, they can exempt themselves from it independent of DOT authority or permission. So like Arizona. So nonetheless, it's observed uniformly across the nation, except in American Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Hawaii. Oh, I didn't realize Hawaii was exempt, and most of Arizona. So some of the places have opted out. So that's interesting as well. And Howie says free range turkey is very good, but wild salmon will be the first pick for me as well. I know, I love salmon, love wild salmon, it's so good. So going back to, how this affects our brain, because this is also the time when, now with more darkness, and people will start complaining about feeling more fatigued, more depression, more mood shifts. Again, anything that disrupts and affects sleep is going to affect mood, is going to affect your overall performance. And so as we start to move into these darker days, we have to start to think about what can we do to make sure that we are optimizing our overall health, so that we don't fall victim to the darkness, regardless of what time they want us to be on. But it's really critical to understand that this 1 hour does have creates almost a social jet lag, is what they call it. And, it's like even if you just go to Chicago and back, I know like if I travel 1 hour uh, west, not travel 1 hour, travel into the time zone west, where it's a 1 hour time change, that's not so bad. But when I come back, the 1 hour, losing 1 hour, I mean, that just jacks me for days. I'm exhausted. So it can really affect like disorientation, difficulty focusing. So if you're working on a project, you might want to just take your project into smaller chunks. Don't work so hard for so long on it. Get up, take frequent breaks, maybe take a walk. Keep yourself fresh so you're not sitting for too long. Getting up and moving a lot, and keeping your blood flowing, keeping your muscles moving. That's really going to help you to keep the blood flow so that you don't fall victim to this. Now, we talked a little bit about melatonin and cortisol and how you can manage some of that. And yes, boo, the darker days, boo. But when we go further into seasonal affective disorder, the problem here is that when we don't get exposed to enough sunlight, we actually get a lowered amount of serotonin. And serotonin is really like our happy hormone. So it really affects our mood. So when we have lower amounts of serotonin, it's harder to stay happy. It's harder to be optimistic. And so we lose the overall light that is stimulating the increase in serotonin. Now, there's other ways you can increase serotonin, so that's why we're going to talk about food and movement. But I'm going to go through some of these other things too that just kind of shed some light a little. That was no pun intended. We're going to shed some light on this. So, why seasonal affective disorder is different from regular depression, and it's really the light availability. So the body is triggered. So our circadian rhythms are triggered by light. I mean, it's just like a pure light issue. So if somebody is more prone to depression and anxiety, they're going to be more apt to have more effect by having less light and, of course, lower serotonin levels. So one of the things that you can do, you can get these light boxes. I've never gotten one, but I've thought about it. If I had to, I'm fortunate because the way my schedule is, I don't have to force myself to get up in the morning. I usually am just naturally awake with plenty of time to shower and get to my office with 45 minutes or so prior to me having to actually start my day. But if I had to get up in the morning, if I had to force myself to get up when it was still dark, I would probably get one of these sunlight lamps. And so what they do is it's just like the natural light, is it slowly comes on. And so that creates an artificial light. It's still the same wavelengths of sunlight, but it creates the artificial light inside your house. Melatonin starts to go down, cortisol starts to go up, and you wake more naturally. So you're not just waking yourself out of a sound sleep. And you can also utilize that during the day. So a lot of people use like red light therapy, and red light therapy has come so far. You can buy all kinds of red light therapy for home use. You can buy red light mats. You can buy red light. There's just red light boxes that you can put in front of your face. So red lights are really amazing for helping to regulate hormones as well. But these light boxes are really good if you have to get up early before the darkness. I think that would be a great idea. Some of the supplements that we talk about, always taking vitamin D. Of course, nothing is going to take the place of natural sunlight. And of course, natural sunlight without sunscreen, or making sure that you are getting out in the early morning hours or late in the day. so that you're exposing your body to as much sunlight as possible without burning. And then, again, if you're wearing a lot of clothes, you're not going to get the benefit. When you get normal, regular sunlight, you actually convert. Uh, uh, I forget how many different forms of vitamin D get converted to help your health. Really good. I got to go back and look that up. But when you get natural D, there's nothing. You're going to take D3. You're usually 5,000 a day is what I recommend, with K, which typically helps with the absorption. But even that, it's one form of D. So I feel like if you can get your D levels up high enough in the summer, then when you just take that one form of D throughout the winter, um, it's better than nothing, because now we're going to be bundled up for several months. So D is really one of the biggest things that we have to get. So yes, I know I hate that it gets dark at 5-ish. I love when it turns the corner though, right? When you're like, oh my God, it's going to be 2 minutes brighter tomorrow. Magic Acre says, my wife is a nurse and she hates it. I'm sure. Does she work midnights? Curious. Howie says, good to see you again. I made some butter and ice cream, so no need to go for a walk as it is fall back, so my walk is 1 hour early. Oh yeah, fall back, right. You made homemade butter and ice cream. God, that sounds so good. I have finally got a raw milk source. So I'm going to be making cheese and butter. I make yogurt every week, so I really want to get the raw milk for that as well. So yes, get rid of the horrid LED lights. I highly recommend. Most of the time, my lights are off. At my office, I have these overhead lights they're the fluorescent lights, and I keep those off. And I have like floor lamps. Now, when it gets really, really dark, I have to turn them on, and I hate that. But I try not to use those kinds of lights as much as I possibly can. So Kenny says, my cicadas move pretty slow in the winter. Are you talking about the bugs now? My cicada rhythm is set to 17 years. If only, that would be amazing. So, okay. So going back to food. So vitamin D, you definitely want to supplement with vitamin D. Omega-3 fatty acids. So one of the things with omega-3s, when we think about omega-3s, the primary source of omega-3s is going to come from fish. We can get some omega-3s from different nuts and seeds, but when we think of omega-3 fatty acids, mostly we're going to think of coming from fish on that one, fatty fish, salmon. But if you want to eat enough omega-3 fats, which is, I will always recommend that you take an omega-3 fatty acid supplement. So a fish oil supplement, a high quality. I don't know why that took me so long to get out right there. High quality omega-3 supplement. Let me drop my website in here to my online store. So you can, if you'd like, you can go to my online store. You can actually fill out, you can fill out a little, whatcha-jiggy, I don't know what you call it, a form. And on that form, you can put in there what supplements are you currently taking, and it'll send it to me, and I can look at them, and then I can make recommendations, or, if they're good, then I'll tell you. And if not, I'll tell you otherwise. So there you go. So that's the link to my Fullscript account. And so Mad Chick, you're one step ahead of me. Yes. So if you want to try to get your omegas from fish, I always recommend go for the smaller fish. So sardines, and, be really mindful too, when you're buying canned fish, some of that stuff, a lot of it, you've got to look and make sure it's packed in olive oil, not soybean oil. So a lot of times you'll see it and it'll be packed in soybean oil, and you want to avoid soybean oil like the freaking plague. It is super inflammatory. It completely offsets any health benefits that you might even be getting from those fish. So um, my daughter she loves sardines. We have a whole stack of sardine cans in the in the pantry, and she'll just like do sardines and crackers as a snack. And she's done that since she was little. So don't be afraid to, and they're stinky. Like you guys know that they're stinky, but I don't know, my kid loves them. So don't be afraid. Get your kids eating this stuff when they're young. Um, yes. So be super careful about the oil for sure. I like them, the ones in the mustard. Oh my God, they're so good on a little cracker with a little roasted tomato on top. Getting a little hungry now. Mad Chick says packed in water or hot sauce. Yeah, the hot sauce ones are pretty good too. Yeah. I don't know that I've seen them packed in water. So, Chairman says, I don't like tuna. I don't like sardines, make me sick to my stomach. And tuna is a big, again, big fish like tuna and salmon, bioamplify. So yes, higher rates of mercury, and then we eat that mercury, heavy metals, all kinds of toxins. And listen, they've even found sunscreen in fish. So, we're not fully safe in our fish when we're eating our fish. So, I just feel like, I probably eat fish once a week, maybe. I eat a lot of grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is really high in omegas. So that's another great place to get your grass-fed and finished. So, yeah, I know. It's what my mom fed us. I know, with Ritz crackers. Yeah. So I buy, because I think they're so good on a Ritz cracker. I refuse to eat Ritz crackers because they're made with a lot of really bad ingredients. So I buy these organic kind of Ritz butter crackers, whatever. It's the fake Ritz, if you will, but they're made in a healthy way. So I buy those. Yeah, 2 crackers, sardines in the middle, with a little bit of sliced Parmesan or some kind of a nice cheese like that, or even a brie. So yummy. What are they called? I'll have to snap a picture and show you. I think I might have a box of them over there. So yeah, herring is excellent too. But then, you have to watch the herring and cream sauce. If you just get the plain herring or pickled herring, I don't know what the pickled herring's pickled in, but they always taste sweet. So I'm sure there's sugar in there. So yeah, I was eating sardines and herring fillets at 6 years old, would spread them in bread with some butter. My mom used to buy herring for my brother. I did not like herring when I was little. I would eat just about everything else. And she would buy a jar for him, and he would annihilate it in one sitting. Hey, P squared, welcome to the party, my friend. Nice to see you. That's great. In a flat can, Kipper snacks. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Yep. I feel like that's in a song somewhere. So we want to be taking vitamin D, omega-3 fats from high quality sources. And then, nuts. Well, let me go back to supplements. So a high quality probiotic is always really helpful. There is a multitude of probiotics that you can take on the market. I have probably 20 different ones that I prescribe based on what people's goals and health issues are. The other thing too about probiotics is that you want to rotate them. You do not want to take the same probiotic over and over again, because you can create what's called a monoculture. So you always want to be adding that variety. You want as diverse of an environment in your gut as you possibly can get. So changing your probiotics is a really great idea. I probably have 4 different bottles in my refrigerator right now. And I take one almost every night, but I'll like rotate the bottles. So that's another thing. And then, just a really high quality multivitamin with phytonutrients is also excellent. So you have your vitamin D, you've got your high quality multivitamin, your omega fats, your fish oil, and then your probiotic. And if you can just do those 4 things, that will cover a lot of ground. A lot of times patients will ask me, should I take XYZ for ABC? And I will say, are you taking, I call it the core 4. Are you taking these four things first. Like, oh, well, no. So let's get you on, let's build the foundation and then we can build off of there. So what I do every day, I do a nutrition shake every day. And so I'll do that every day. That's basically my multivitamin. And then I add in things from there. I have a whole cabinet. I have two cabinets actually that's just full of supplements and tinctures and teas and homeopathic remedies and all kinds of things. And but I don't take everything every day. I take it, okay, if I'm starting to feel something scratchy, a scratchy throat, I've got a whole bunch of supplements in my cabinet for immune function. I have other supplements for joint function. So I don't take my joint supplements every day. I take them kind of when I remember, but then if I get sore, stiff or sore, like when my wrist was hurting last week, I was taking the joint supplements, for cartilage and joint health. So you rotate, right? And it's okay if you just stick with your foundational stuff. The other stuff can, you take them as needed. Chairman says, I tried to buy skim this walnuts the other day and the price was ridiculous. I don't know what kind of walnuts you were buying there. Buy skinless walnuts. Oh, got it. Okay. There's a woman that she's got English walnut trees. Those are the traditional walnut that you see. And she takes them and she hand cracks them. She's got a cracker. I remember asking her one time, I go, how long does that take you? And she goes, I'm old. I don't care. She goes, I got nothing else to do. And these walnuts, they're whole nut meats too. And I think she charges, it's $10 for, a quart size bag. And I'm like, oh my God, I'll take 5 of those, please. And so those will last me, probably through the winter. So yeah, if you can find somebody who grows walnuts around you, nothing like it. I'll never eat another store-bought walnut again. It's amazing how much better these are. So, so that's our foundational supplementation. And then also making sure that you are moving. We have got to move. It's really easy. And I know this firsthand because I do not like cold weather, you guys. Okay. I don't know if you've figured that out, because I love the hot weather so much that I actually don't like the cold weather. So usually in the winter, I'm kind of bunked in. I like to go to work and come home. Like that's kind of it. Or I'll go to yoga or go to the gym and come home. I don't really like to go to multiple places, but in the summertime, I'm all over the place. I'm this store, that store, meet friends for lunch or dinner or whatever it is. But in the wintertime, it's hard to get me out of the house. So I have to be really mindful of my movement. And my job, number one, is very mobile. So that keeps me moving. I will literally walk 15,000 steps in a day in my office. And if you've ever been in my office, it's like, 30 feet back and forth multiple times a day. So it's really interesting. But then, maybe adding, I have some friends and they're like, you need to start playing pickleball. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I see a lot of pickleball injuries too. So I'm a little hesitant to get on that bandwagon. But if you're somebody that just doesn't like exercise, or you're like, it's boring going to the gym, then you want to do something like you get involved in some kind of an indoor sport, pickleball or basketball, volleyball, whatever it is that you that will be active, that you can also have a community of people. When you develop a community of people and you connect with people, that's really healthy mentally, especially if you have seasonal affective disorder. One of the best things you can do is have a community regardless. But then if you can create a community of people that are active doing things, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So I really encourage you to do that. And so Mad Chick says in the winter, everyone is confined in large groups with limited fresh air. Where are they confined in large groups? Are you just talking about like if you go to an event or something? Um, but so finding some activity that makes you happy. However, and I say this as a caveat, is that as we get older, and especially women, I take care of a lot of women. I work with a lot of women's hormones, and hormones are just completely wacko, especially going through perimenopause. You think you're going nuts. These also, if you're in perimenopause and you're having irregular periods and you're not sleeping well, all that stuff is going to happen anyway. And then we have a time change on top of that. So now it's really critical that we start to tap into what we can do. What are the lifestyle things that we can do that are critical to keeping our health optimized through the winter? And then as we get back into the fall, the spring and the fall, and we can get outdoors more, now you're just hitting the ground running, so I would really encourage you to make sure that you're stepping into your fitness. I think I know weight training is one of the best things that anybody can do, but especially women. If you are listening to this as a woman, or you have a woman in your life, or sister, mother, daughter, get them into the gym, because when you start to lift weights, there's nothing that will take the place of strength training. And I took a couple of good long walks. I did a 5-mile walk yesterday with the dog. Went to yoga today, which is super intense. It's all body weight strength training that way. So you can do something like that. But I still couple that with, I did 2 days in the gym this week. And then, like I say, a big long walk yesterday, went to yoga today, and then did another 3-mile walk today with the dog. So just walking alone, I find just to be very cathartic and clearing in my mind, especially with the dog. But that is not going to, that's not what's going to maintain your longevity and your fitness in longevity, because we lose muscle mass dramatically as we start to get older. And the only way to retain it is to get in the gym and push the freaking weights, you guys. Just get in there, or do strength training, do push-ups and sit-ups and squats every single day inside your house. Like, build that muscle, because muscle is really metabolically active. So especially if you are struggling with seasonal affective disorder, you have this metabolically active organ. Muscle is an organ, and it is so wonderful in optimizing brain health and gut health and your blood sugar and your overall performance and your energy and your sleep. So muscle is an organ that we all need to be making sure that we are tapping into and building as we get older. So so Mad Chick says inside, in general, malls, restaurants, parties. Got it. Yes. And P Squared says, I went to a wedding in Canada 2 weeks ago, brought home some kind of Canadian crud, cold, flu, blech. It took me out. I'm done. I have it to my, that happened to you when you went to California too, didn't it? P Squared, we have to work on your immune system, my dear. Goodness gracious. Sharing is caring. Yeah, wear a mask. I'm seeing so many people wearing masks. I'm not exactly sure why. Crazy that surgeons still wear them. And when I say that, so most of the people that I saw, so many people today, and most of the people that I saw were young, like the little girl at Starbucks when I went to get my coffee, my poison toxic coffee. I know you guys are gonna crucify me. I'm gonna say it all up front. Yes, my poison toxic coffee from Starbucks. The girl behind the counter was wearing a mask, and she couldn't have been 17. And then same thing, another woman walked in and she probably was maybe in her 20s now. And then I'm seeing a lot of these younger kids. I don't know why they're so frightened of of whatever. I saw an elderly woman at the farmer's market walking with her husband on Wednesday, and she wasn't walking very well, and she was clearly and she had a mask on, and I was like, yeah, that's when it's appropriate, because she probably has some health issues that she needed to make sure that she's protecting herself. But this whole like prophylactically wearing a mask is absolutely ridiculous, and you like, you guys, you got to expose yourself to stuff, so P squared, I'm not saying that I'm happy that you got sick, but this might be that might be whatever virus you caught is going to take you through the rest of the winter now. So you might be good for the rest of the time. So fingers crossed. So Magic says the bear them do, they don't drool into, they wear them so they don't. Look at me guessing your autocorrect. Yeah, drool into the patient's open cavity. Yeah, or sneeze. Yes, right. People at Kroger today standing in line at Starbucks, and I'm like, WTF? Yeah, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Hold on, the dog is knocking at the door to go out. Hold on. Okay, Mr. Bentley. All right. So we talked about supplements. We talked about movement. I can, you can't outrun a bad diet, but you must be moving. So making sure that you are, being mindful of your movement patterns, your exercise, and and if you are like, gosh, I just don't have the energy to get in the gym, just get somewhere. Just start with walking. Do something simple like that, and then you could just do step ups. Easy. There's a lot of different things that you can get started doing that are very simple. So yeah, so Asian communities are known for mask, gloves, and all. I was in the store a few weeks ago. I tried wearing an N95 and cutting onions, still cried. Maybe I was just sad for the poor defenseless onion. I wear goggles, plastic goggles, when I'm making salsa and I have to cut up all those onions. I put the rubber, chemistry goggles, like what we wore in chemistry class, and it helps tremendously. So where was I going with that? Okay, so movement, physical activity, making sure you're taking the proper supplements. You can use light therapy if that suits you. That would require you purchase something. However, if you can get outside and get a little bit of morning sunlight, that also will help to, you're trying to balance these hormones, right? So the more you can see that morning light, the more it will get your cortisol up and the melatonin down. And that's what you're looking for, is that natural circadian rhythm. And you're going to be more tired. We are going to be more tired as humans, because if you think about it, winter is the time when we rest. It's the time when animals hibernate. So we're not meant to be driving and working, not physically driving, but driving our bodies. We're not meant to be driving ourselves till 10 o'clock at night, and then and then we spend 2 hours trying to relax. But this is, in the summertime, it's easy to do that. It's easy to go for a nice long walk after dinner, or come home and work in the yard a little bit more. And so summertime makes it that much easier to be able to stay up longer and keep our bodies moving and stay active. But in the wintertime, we do have to respect our body's desire for rest. It's really important. So now it's a matter of prioritizing what you should be doing for yourself. So prioritizing and giving yourself grace to rest is also not me saying that you don't have to exercise. So it's just me saying you just need to be more mindful of how you spend your energy. So doing things that are going to optimize, amplify your overall health and help sustain you through the winter. So there's some other things as well. So let's talk about some foods that we can eat that we can implement into our diet. Now, we've already talked about fish, fatty fish, and I didn't mention canned tuna for a reason. And of course, we could also have this issue with the canned sardines, canned salmon, that kind of stuff. So you can actually buy fresh sardines. Another one of my favorites is smelt. You can buy frozen smelt. I don't usually find it fresh, but smelt are small fish, and oh man, they're good. And you can air fry them. So we used to deep fry them. Oh my god, they're like crack. They're amazing. But you can do smelt, which you can buy them frozen in a bag, and you can buy sardines not in a can, but I've seen them fresh every once in a while, but that's a few and far between. So what do I think about the red light therapy's 600 to 800 nanometer range? That's a really great question. So one thing I know in general about red light therapy is that it does have different ranges. I don't know enough about light therapy in order to know when it's appropriate to use that range. So what I do know is that if you use red light therapy at a certain range at the wrong time of day, you have to utilize the range for when it's appropriate in your circadian rhythm. I hope that makes sense. And I don't know all of the ranges of our circadian rhythm. So, let's say that your body likes 600 to 800 nanometers range at 6 p.m. at night. And that's when it's going to be best to maybe amplify your health. But let's say if you do it right before you go to bed, maybe that's when your body requires a different range, and it actually could stimulate some things and keep you awake. So I don't know about the range you're asking me, but I do know that if you're going to use it, you need to make sure you're utilizing that range for the appropriate time of day. So does that make sense? And there was a really great podcast on that. I'm trying to remember who the woman was that I heard she was being interviewed, and oh my gosh, she talked about that. She broke it down beautifully, and now I can't remember. But I will dive deeper into that because I am fascinated by it. And I just heard that podcast a few weeks ago, and you've reminded me that was something I wanted to go deeper into. So thank you for that. Where would you go to find that kind of detailed information? I would say start with Google. And I would also say, if you send me an email, here's my email address. Send me an email and just remind me to look up that podcast. I remember whose podcast it was on, and then I can go back and I will remember who it was that was interviewed when I go through it. But send me an email and remind me, and I will get it for you. And this woman, it was a whole thing on sleep and light and circadian rhythms and red light therapy and different color light therapies. And it was fascinating. And it's worth a second or third listen to for sure. So yeah, do that and I'll get you the information. So let's talk about food now. Gosh, it's 6:58. That went by fast. All right. So we talked about our fish, and so berries. Blueberries are one of the healthiest foods that we can have. They are packed with what are called anthocyanins, which are a particular type of antioxidants. It's a plant compound that actually helps with inflammation, incredible for brain health. One of the things, though, with blueberries is that is one of the foods that is on the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen. So you should, if you're going to eat blueberries, you want to get them organically, because they are too toxic if you get them conventionally. So, and if you're like, you can't afford the organic ones, I'm like, just go ahead and eat the regular ones. So I don't want to discourage anybody from really eating them, but that's just a piece of information. If you can get the organic ones, great. If not, work your way up to it. Utilizing spices. So turmeric, it's an ingredient in curry powder. It's what gives curry that orange, the kind of like deep yellow orange color. But what that does is it actually helps improve memory. It improves brain health. It's been shown to ease depression. It boosts serotonin and dopamine, which again, those are all your happy hormones. Those are your mood hormones, and it actually helps. There's some studies that have shown that it helps new brain cells to grow. So turmeric is an incredible compound, and I have a couple of really great supplements on my online store that have an extract of turmeric in it that actually helps to absorb 40 times better than most turmeric supplements on the market. So again, you can drop me an email and just put turmeric in the subject line, and I'll go ahead and send you the which one I would recommend on that. And other, I'm gonna scroll down the bottom of this list first, because I think spices and seasonings are really important. So turmeric, black pepper. Black pepper is actually a cannabinoid. I think turmeric is as well. So it hits those same neurotransmitters that like CBD will. So, but if you use things like garlic, lots of garlic, cumin, turmeric, like, so what did I say? Black pepper. Those are my big ones. And then any kind of herbs, anything herbal, there's so much health in just those basics where you can start to season up your food, and then you're getting just a major boost to your brain. Broccoli has another really incredible. It's great for cancer fighting. So they've shown that it actually has this compound called sulforaphane in it. I actually did a video on that a while back for Grow Big TV. And there's actually supplements that they extract the compound from the broccoli, they extract the sulforaphane, and they create supplements. So then they compound the sulforaphane, and so now you're getting high doses of sulforaphane. So anybody who has a history of cancer or who has had cancer, these are great supplements to be on, because they actually they're anti-inflammatory, highly effective for antioxidant help, protecting the brain, and then you can also do like the sprouts, broccoli sprouts. So I would also add to that cauliflower and cabbage. So those are all in the brassica family, and they all contain sulforaphane. Also, you would have kale and collards, I think, are also have sulforaphane in it as well. But I think broccoli has the highest. Broccoli and cauliflower are like the two highest. So then that brings us to seeds. So seeds, so pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sprinkling those on flax seeds. You can utilize seeds to, put them in your salad. You can sprinkle them over like a butternut squash, or you can put, sometimes what I'll do is if I make a squash soup, like an acorn squash soup or butternut squash soup, something like that, I will take seeds and all so I'll peel it, put it in the, and then chop it up, cook it down, seeds and all, onions, garlic, some red pepper. And then I take the whole, once it's cooked down, I put it in my Vitamix, which blends the crap out of it. So I'm blending all the seeds. So the omegas, so pumpkin seeds are high in omegas, they're high in zinc, magnesium, copper, iron. Pumpkin seeds are so healthy. And so I grind those down, and then I'm getting all the fiber from the shell as well. And the Vitamix is so beautiful because it just blends it smoothly and you don't even know it's in there, but you're getting all of those beautiful health benefits. And then, so we said nuts and seeds. We talked about walnuts and, walnuts and other nuts having some neuroprotective benefits. And then the last thing that I had on my list today is chocolate. I'm working with a client right now on nutrition, and she said, well, can I eat those dark chocolate kisses? And I said, no. No, she said, can I have chocolate? And I said, in what form? And she said, well, those dark chocolate kisses, I like those. And I said, the answer is yes and no. You can have dark chocolate, but you can't eat that garbage. Chocolate is one of those things that you can either get it in a form that is so healthy for you, again, full of flavonoids, antioxidants, excellent for brain health. It can be really healthy for you, or you can get it really crappy where they've added waxes and sugar and all kinds of garbage to it. So I always say, stick with dark chocolates that are like, 70% and higher. They're going to be much lower sugar. Another really great way to get like the benefit of dark chocolate is you buy the cacao nibs, and they're completely unsweetened. They're like the chunks of, I forget which part of the cacao nut that it comes from, but they're so good. And I'll just take like a little pinch of the nibs and put them on my tongue and chew them. And so they got some texture. They taste chocolatey, but they're not sweet. You still will get that same benefit from the chocolate, from the flavonoids, and still get the brain benefits. So I would definitely, if you're going to have chocolate, make sure it's high quality chocolate. One of the chocolates that I love is the Human brand, and it's so good. And they use a lot of coconut sugar, which I'm really sensitive to anything that's too sweet. So regular sugar, or even like stevia. So artificial sweeteners for sure, but then even like stevia and monk fruit, those like hit my palate very much like an artificial sweetener. So I avoid those. I don't like them at all. I don't like the flavor of them. But the coconut sugar, it's so mild. It's so little in this chocolate, this Human brand, that you get a little bit of sweetness, but then you're getting that really that nice deep chocolate flavor in the in whether it's a bar or like they have these little nubs, that it's like a little chocolate bite, which I love too. So, and they do cacao covered nuts. So they're like 0 calories because they use the coconut sugar. So you're getting the cacao and you're getting the nut. They're really, really good. So no, not Hershey's Kisses, Kenny. You might as well take them and dip them in Miracle Whip. Bad, Kenny, bad. We're not doing that. Magic Acres, great. That's awesome. I will probably pick that up tomorrow. And I'll get on that for you. Yeah. And then please, I would love your feedback on what you thought of that. Cause like I say, I feel like it was so fascinating. I have to go back and listen to it again. So I will find that for you. So yes, that would be disgusting for certain. So, wow, you guys, it's 7:08. That was amazing. Does anybody have any more questions about the time change? Okay, we know the consensus is nobody likes it. We all have to deal with it. And so I hope I've laid out some really simple ways for you to counteract, again, and optimize. I just love the word optimizing. That's really what we need to be doing, is optimizing our health, our wellness, and also we're moving into sugar season. We just passed Halloween and now we're moving into more sugar season. So the more junk and sugar and processed foods and just, less healthy things that you consume, the more you're going to succumb to illnesses. So you have to think of going into this winter season like putting on a suit of armor. You have to care about yourself enough to think, okay, I'm going to put on this suit of armor. I don't need the Hershey's Kisses. I do like really good high quality chocolate. So just do that. So yeah. But yeah, take care of yourselves. And if you have any questions, and thank you, P Squared. I appreciate the watch. And if you would please share it, I would appreciate it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I dropped my email there. Let me know. Are there any topics that we haven't covered or you want me to be talking about? Anything you'd like me to bring to light would be, I'm here for you. I want to bring you information that serves you and your health and your life and provides you that level of longevity. So let me know. Drop me a line. I would love to hear from you. Okay, you guys, thanks again for being here. Thanks for all your engagement. I'll see you tomorrow on Reset Monday, Thursday for Chiropractic is Sexy. Did you all see Chiropractic is Sexy last week? If you didn't, you need to go watch it because we were all dressed up in our costumes and it was really good. So go back and watch Chiropractic is Sexy. All right, you guys, we'll talk to you soon. Have an amazing rest of your night. See you. Thanks again for being here. Love y'all. Bye.